couple of years back, Motorola had a big hit with the Razr phone, right? And then things tapered off. Do you foresee any big hits coming down the pipe? I mean, even Sigmatel and consumer applications tends to be, I mean, that's still 6, 7, 8 months out.
Yes.
Is there any plans or any vision of a quick hit to help get out of doldrums?
I wouldn't want to project that there's something massive like the Razr. The Razr was obviously a huge opportunity, and Sigmatel in the past has had hits, okay, in the iPod for a couple of years. I would say, first of all, we don't want to bet on these hits because, to use the analogy, man, there's an awful lot of strikeouts to get those kinds of home runs.
Sure, right.
So I think I would be fooling ourselves if I said, look, there's something that can be massive. Having said that, I think that we're involved in enough applications that we could have many singles, to use the analogy, that will start to move the company in a positive direction from a growth standpoint.
Did you ever talk to Steve Jobs about the possibility of being in the iPhone?
I haven't had that conversation yet. I have not had that conversation yet, but I have talked to our team about what capabilities we have.
Right.
And I've been here now 90 days, and I want to make sure that that as we approach major customers like that I, together with the team, have really thought about a roadmap for our company that aligns well with their roadmap. And part of that roadmap will probably not be a single family of products, but it could be, what are we doing in terms of the applications processor? What are we doing in terms of power management? What are we doing in terms of analog? What are we doing in terms of sensors? Are there some things that Freescale is uniquely positioned to provide to a company like that in order to become a solid partner with them?
Right.
We're working on those things for some of those type of applications.
Can you elaborate quickly on the Sigmatel IMX marriage? What's the beauty of that?
A couple of things. One is the IMX organization is an ARM-based family of products, so we've got that capability. We think the ARM processor is a very fine adjunct. If we are going to be, which we are, and I expect to continue to be, the world leader in embedded processors,
right,
it's essential that we be providing the ARM processor. It's been a very successful technology, and so our I.MX group has become expert in that area. However, it started in the cell phone arena. So it's got a certain amount of skill associated with consumer products, but the nature of the cellular industry is that it's very high degree of concentration. So it's not a matter of a broad set of applications and so forth. So it has the underlying technology, it has knowledge of the cellular industry, and over the past several years it's started to expand that processor into several other arenas, like the Ford Sync. We're at the heart of the Ford Sync, and into some other type of applications like the MP3 player from Microsoft and so forth. But we saw in Sigmatel one even more capability and experience in the consumer markets,
right,
where there really is a different way of operating. It's rapid definition of the products needed, rapid development of those products and launch into production and so forth. Yeah. Quite different, as you can imagine, from automotive or industrial. Even cell phones, even though it's a consumer application, those platforms are developed over years and years. Whereas an LCD TV is developed, even in pretty significantly new technology, is about 18 to 24 months at most. So Sigmatel brings customer relationships in a lot of these consumer areas, a whole DNA associated with rapid definition, development, and introduction, and also some of the development knowledge and intellectual property associated with some of these markets, like the navigation system, personal navigation systems. So we have a good, solid foundation, and this is adding a group of people, customer relationships, and I would say will help us to get into a rhythm of speed that's necessary in that consumer market.
One of the things that I pursue on the side is the idea of differentiation. You provide these platforms, and you provide, and now Sigmatel provide very well-known architecture. How do you plan to help the end customer differentiate with this new platform that you plan to offer to a broad base of customers?
Yeah, I think there's an interesting a trend that is very important. Throughout the industry's life over the last 20 or 30 years, there's been a relatively steady improvement in integrating more functions into silicon,
right,
so that you get lower cost, you can possibly get lower power consumption, you can get higher performance and so forth. That's a natural trend in the industry. I think that trend is accelerating along a couple of different dimensions. One is that they're now insisting, customers are insisting to continue this trend, that we the semiconductor companies find a way to integrate functions that are not logically or economically able to be integrated into a single piece of silicon. Could be integrating power with a processor,
right.
But the power simply can't be done in the same technology economically. It may not be able to be done at all, but it certainly can't be done economically with the processor that needs to drive down the technology curve much faster than the power. And yet customers are saying, you have to find a solution to this.
That they want it together, right?
They want them together.
Yeah.
So it's causing companies like ourselves to be able to integrate more of those functions, and often it comes in the form of multi-chip modules.
Right.
So they're forcing us down a path. Forcing is too strong a word. They're encouraging us, guiding us to help them figure out a way. How do we get that functionality into a smaller space? The second aspect of it is they're asking, in some markets, they're asking us to be involved in the providing of some degree of software.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be in the form of the operating system that's going to overlay the drivers to the operating system that's going to overlay a processor. But in some cases, it's actually a little bit of the application software that's
right.
needed. I wouldn't say we're going to be a major providers of application software. That's going to be the role of the system providers. But they're asking us to become more involved in providing more of that software. I believe that those two trends really, really play well to Freescale's ability to differentiate. So many other companies simply do not have those pieces.
Right.
They either don't have the processors or controllers, or they don't have the analog, they don't have the power, sensors, and so forth, and they don't have the software capability. My previous company, for example, was a company that provided very, very fine components, but without any software capability whatsoever.
Right.
It provided effectively a component, it's hardware, designed it in. In some markets that's acceptable. Many markets, however, are starting to accelerate their need for us effectively to provide more and more value added that starts to get a little bit beyond what you can do in terms of integrating a single piece of silicon,
right,
or delivering purely with hardware.